Hello and welcome. My name is Joseph Martens. I'm the host of our podcast today, and I'm the founder of the Tech Executive Club. With us today in our Top Innovator series is Shane McDaniel. Shane, great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Joseph. I really appreciate it. It's an honor, man.
Shane is the CIO of the City of Seguin, and he'll correct my pronunciation.
Very good.
Awesome.
Very good.
And before his current role, he's been in various government and private sector organizations in technology leadership positions. Shane, it's great to have you with us and talk about leadership and your leadership journey.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. Let's do it, man.
Let's dive right in. Exactly. When you look at your own journey as a leader in different stages that you had, what's the success factor? When you look at that, what do you think makes you successful as a leader? What are the ingredients to your leadership in a tech role in the organizations that you've been in?
That's a fantastic question, Joseph, and I would say it's loaded because there's many. I think that all roads lead to where I am today, and I live with so much gratitude, and I consider myself so fortunate. But also think that maybe the person that I am and what led me to be here today, I also happen to be in an organization that I don't know if you could make a better organization for who I am as a person. I'm very blue collar. I'm from a very small town in East Texas. Now I'm in one of the fastest growing cities in the nation. 21st fastest growing city according to recent records and whatnot, numbers that are out and what have you. So we're rapidly evolving through innovation and maturity of the organization, what have you, but we're still holding on to kind of our rural roots. We happen to be outside of the San Antonio-Austin corridor, and it's just explosive growth in this whole region and us as well. So it's been a journey, and I would say, Joseph, that your career, your life as an adult, as you progress through it, it very much is a marathon. It's a sprint. I could share so many things that have happened over the years, and I tell you, being from a small town, being someone that college wasn't really the right option for me coming out of high school. I wasn't a great student, things of that nature. And I went the military route. I come from a military family. It was not expected, but I saw that as an opportunity to potentially do something with my life. I felt like I grew up in a bubble a little bit there in East Texas, and I don't think I ever left the state of Texas growing up until I joined the military. And I volunteered for all overseas assignments, and they sent me over to Europe for 3.5, 4 years, and it kind of opened the door. They gave me my start in technology. And I still use some of those same skills that the Air Force gave me almost 30 years ago. We're still using them right now. And that led to a career with the federal government and the intelligence community. I spent a few years in private industry. And something pretty cool, about my story, my journey, I would say, Joseph, is the day before I turned 40 years old, I was working in private industry. I was in middle management. I was in a pretty Fortune 500, cybersecurity. I had employees all over the world. I was the manager of North American cybersecurity operations for a Fortune 500 company, and making a good salary and all that stuff. Wow. But it just didn't resonate in my soul. Like I just knew I had to leave the federal government to realize that I'm a public servant at heart. And I put in my notice without really having anything lined up other than a couple of interviews. And that led me to Texas local government. So I started working for a city there in the Dallas area pretty soon afterwards, and that led me to an opportunity down here to the City of Seguin, where I've been the past 70 years. I took a $40,000 pay cut to do that, and hindsight being 2020, I don't regret it one bit, man. It took years to recoup that salary, but it was the right decision for me for so many reasons based on who I am as a person. I wake up with a smile every dang day, man. So I love what we do here. I have an amazing team, just incredible folks, being in a rapidly growing community. So all of those skills that I learned through the years, through the military, through the intelligence community, living on both coasts. I spent 10 years in California. There was Florida. There was the D.C. area. I was at the NSA at Fort Meade, So I spent a little bit of time there where you're at, man. and all roads lead me. I feel like my life is almost full circle, man. Like I came from a small town, and I kind of wound up back in a somewhat small town, even though it's
Okay.
40 the size of where I grew up. And I still get to play with the cool technology and all the innovation and AI and you name it, man. And I was like, I don't think you could have, for the person that I am, I don't think it could have worked out possibly better, because I think I'm the luckiest CIO walking the face of the earth, man.
Wow. Okay. Wow. So that's the step that you took there, or the decisions you made are super courageous. Walking away from an established career, right, and like you said, taking the pay cut, going somewhere else. And what I find fascinating is a lot of people, especially younger people, when you ask what they're looking for, is right, they would tell you they're looking for meaning, they're looking for significance, making an impact, and things like that. And the reality is, the paycheck probably outweighs all of these noble considerations at the end. But you, in your case, you really went for meaning, went for what is important. What would you say to someone younger who's in a position where they're still searching for what the right route is? It sounds like you found it, right? And it required some introspection. How do you get someone to reflect like that and find the path that's right for them?
I think they got to know who they are as a person, who they want. And I couldn't have answered that 25 years ago. I was still figuring things out myself, you know.
Mm.
So I would always caution people as far as my journey, why I consider myself, I think I'm really happy now, and just have a wonderful life. It's reflective of who I am as a person, and then taking action on it. Such an investment made, though. We haven't even talked about this yet, Joseph, but like I spent, this is almost embarrassing to admit, but it's true, 12 years taking night classes, using my GI Bill, you know, getting bachelor's, getting the master's, getting all those. I got a ton of certifications. If you look me up on LinkedIn, it's like a alphabet soup behind my name, right? And I consider myself fortunate for that too, because as an uneducated, you know, man, starting my career first in the Air Force, and then whenever I got out, and everything just seemed to work out. So the first 10 years of my career, I saw, you know, that side of it, and I was always perfectly fine with it. But when I finished that 4-year degree, that sort of opened the door for opportunities for this. And at some point early on, you know, there was a fork in the road that I essentially had, where it's like, do I continue going down this technology path? You know, I was a network engineer at the time, and maybe I become an architect or some high-level tech person. But management seemed to be, I don't know, I just kind of naturally gravitated that direction. So, you know, kind of going back to your question, I couldn't have answered that when I was 20 years old. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, when I was 35, I think I was still a kid. And I always like to tell people I'm probably older than, you know, you might think I am. You know, at least I want to believe that in my head, you know, but here I am, dang near 50 years old. I've been doing this for 30 years, you know. And the experience, and, you know, just how it all worked out, and the risk taking risks is super easy whenever you're young, and you don't have a lot to lose. It gets a little bit harder as we age and we have families and things of that nature. Whenever you're young, that's the time to do it. Go find yourself. If you think you want to do something, then try it. And if you fail, that's totally okay. It's good to fail, as long as you take those lessons learned moving forward. If you get knocked down 10 times, get up 11, dude, and go figure it out. And be happy that you had that experience, because you can carry that forward for the rest of your life. And that's some advice I give to young folks. I have 15 people on my staff here doing technology. We got another 5 people or so doing shadow IT that we work closely with. All in all, it's a little over 500 people working for the city. So, you know, it's a good size. We do a lot of things here. And I have a lot of young people on staff. And I try to coach them up. And, you know, so I feel like sometimes in one ear, out the other, and I'm kind of like work dad or something, right? And that's totally cool. But I very much care, you know, like I'm invested in these people. I have a great core team of folks, and I want them to achieve all of their goals and dreams in their life, whether it's technically, professionally, personally, you know, even if it means that they leave this organization for another opportunity, you know, whether it's a pay increase or a shorter commute, whatever that goal is, I want them to have it.
Yeah.
So it's just having candid conversations like that, getting them comfortable, even though, this guy's been doing it for a long time and carries this title, I'm still just a regular guy. There's nothing unusual or special about me. I'm still
Yeah.
just a dude, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, having those conversations with them and being honest. I think people appreciate that authenticity and being genuine. And I
Yeah.
hope they know I care, man. I care about their futures. I care about being successful together while we're here. And I care about 5 years down the road, too.
Yeah. Yeah. What I hear there in your own journey is a lot of commitment, a lot of discipline, and the follow through to get there.
Yeah, perseverance is a pretty big one for me.
Perseverance.
I don't mind sharing here on your show, man. Like, I don't come from much. I literally grew up in a trailer park, man, and I don't mind admitting that, because I look back and I'm thankful, because it just makes me appreciate that beautiful home and that beautiful wife and everything that I have today. That it was all earned, So like,
Yeah.
part of like good. The way I live my life, and I'm happy with, this, that, and the other thing. I don't need the big house or the new car, things like that. And it all just kind of makes this whole situation work for me personally. And those are some of the messages that I convey for folks. Be careful, don't put yourself in debt. Like a great example, Joseph, is we partnered with one of the local school districts here. They wanted to spin up a state-funded program for a cybersecurity, basically ninth graders from ninth to 12th grade, so high schoolers. If they follow this state-funded program perfectly, they'll graduate with a 2-year associate's degree in cybersecurity. We had to partner with a local university and several cybersecurity certifications like CompTIA, things like that. And they'll be ready to enter the workforce immediately out of high school, potentially, internships, things like that with my organization, and doing like faux interviews and what have you. Just kind of, helping those young folks, kind of giving them an incentive or, an advantage, just kind of giving them exposure, honestly. And I love that program. And but I was very careful before I agreed to do this with that school district, because I told them that I am a perfect example. I do not necessarily believe that a 4-year degree, and more importantly, putting yourself in debt to start your adult life, is required to have success in the IT profession. If you guys expect me to be in front of these young people and communicate that message, I can't do that, because I'm not going to lie to these kids. Now, if I can be honest with them and say, hey, you want to go that route? That changed my life. I have experience, like I alluded to, all the night classes, and my career kind of took a different path. And I think that has a direct link to that education. If that's what you want to do, by all means, do it, But you don't have to. Don't feel like you have to, because you can go to a trade school. You can do what you're doing here with this cybersecurity program and have a good career. Be successful, buy a house, have a family. It's kind of what you make of it, right? And thankfully, the school district was all for it. That's exactly what they wanted to hear, come to find out. Just being honest with those kids and stuff. And pretty cool.
That's great. And it sounds like the message that you sent, the conversation you have, and probably the way you lead really goes deep into the personal aspects of people's lives as well, right? Because we are the same person at work and at home. So it makes a lot of sense you speak about debt, not going into debt, right? Awesome. Let me ask you a different question about your leadership journey. So you've talked about your roots, where you've come from, some of the things that you've learned on your journey. When you look at where you are today, what are some things that you think you're still working on? So what are the things where you think, I haven't quite cracked it yet? I'm not quite sure how I handle that. What's sort of the next step, if you want, in Shane's leadership journey? And I don't mean this in a position way or anything like that. I mean in terms of your own development.
Oh, yeah, I definitively know how I feel about that, Joseph. I always want me to be a work in progress. I can always be a little bit better. It's kind of that, I heard, the Kobe Bryant thing still bothers me, the helicopter crash and him passing away too young. But I still, literally, just here recently, I heard him speaking on a YouTube video or something, and he was talking about being 1% better every day. Even if it doesn't feel like it, but that is accruing over time, almost like compound
Yeah.
interest whenever you're
Yeah.
investing and whatnot. So you're building yourself up to be a better person slowly but surely over time, and I believe in that. I mean, how do you track that? Accurately, it's just a feeling, right? So I've grown a lot over the past few years. Even in this role, this is the only executive role I've ever had. I've only ever worked for 2 cities. I was in middle management in the other one. I had a CIO that I reported to. He was a great dude. He's still a mentor to this day. So like I don't have a lot of experience in other organizations and how they operate and what have you. But one of the things I had to learn in my role here, I was 42 years old whenever they hired me, and I still had a lot of growing to do. I think I was still a kid at 35, 38 years old. It's so funny. I got a sidetrack here, Joseph. When I turned 40 years old, I told you the story about the working in private industry, but what I didn't tell you was I had a friend of mine. He was in his early 50s, and he shot me an email right that day, and he was like, "Hey, dude, just wanted to say happy birthday and welcome to becoming an adult." And he said, "Don't worry, don't fall apart until you turn 50." And I was like, "Thanks. I thought I was an adult already, but all right, man, cool." But I'll tell you, man, I'm going the long way around to answer your question, but I was still pretty hard-headed. I think that's just a DNA thing for me. You can probably hear it in my voice. I'm a country guy. I'm a military guy. It's just kind of who I am. And I was much more rigid when I began my position here in Seguin. And it was it was me driving technology. It was me driving innovation, the vision, the 5-year roadmap, things like that. That has almost completely reversed 7 years later. It's been this way for a few years. I needed to evolve. I have this great core group of people, the 15 staff members that we have, and probably 11 or 12 of them are like they've been with me for dang near the whole time, or just they've been here for a few years. I don't have a lot of turnover here, thankfully. Folks, I think that speaks to the organization and what we're doing here. Folks they leave occasionally, but they hang around, and just through time and the trust and the culture that we built, that I now, like, they're the ones really driving innovation. They tell me, and basically I am a head cheerleader, I like to say that, and I'm a facilitator. There is an as you undoubtedly know, there's an administrative side of what we do that has nothing to do with technology, other than I live in the middle between the high-level technology staff and then the other less technical folks that your budget director, your CEO, city manager, and I'm the one that can communicate. I can communicate with the high-level technical folks, and I can also have that same conversation in the way that it needs to be heard and potentially justifying budget expenditures and whatever we're doing to these folks over here, our city council, things like that. So that's what I needed to work on, was just sort of evolving the trust, and it happened kind of organically. I would say I'm a little bit. I think I'm still viewed as a fairly intense person, but much less so. I've even had a couple of staff members mention that, "Oh, you listened so much better today." I was like, "Well, I thank you. I actually appreciate that, and I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to not listen several years ago. I'm so sorry." But thankfully, outstanding folks, and we have a great relationship here. But that's how I've evolved, and I continue to evolve. I want to be that work in progress, like I said, and I'm willing. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. Nothing like that. I'm surrounded by just incredible people, and all I do is just take that vision they have moving forward, and we do it as a group. We're not one person making those calls or what have you, but so that's how it's changed over the years, and I'm much happier. I love how we're structured today, because they're the people that should be driving that. We've been spent 7 years together, and that trust is implicit. It's there, man. So, yeah, you're right about that. We should do it that way. No worries.
Yeah, I really like the work in progress, because it really means we're open to growth, right? We're open for something new, and that's the only way to really develop ourselves as leaders. I know we're almost out of time.
How weird would it be, like, if we weren't receptive to that? Like, what led us to any level of success that we achieve in our lives, and then you just turn it off? That doesn't make sense to me. Like, to like, okay, I've attained a certain status or title or whatever it is in your life, and it's like, all right, I'm done. I'm not learning any. Like, that doesn't make any sense, particularly in the IT profession where it's constantly changing, constantly evolving.
Yeah, but like you said before, it's getting more difficult to take risks as we grow older, right? Because of family that's there, and I wonder if that's a contributor to slowing down our growth, because the risks are necessary.
Yeah, well, that is a concern, and I'll tell you, I don't mind admitting this. This is a little bit of a personal thing for me, Joseph, but what I've learned over the past few years is, okay, so I've achieved all of the goals I've set for myself in my career. However, over the past 28 years, whenever you've been so motivated and willing to move across the country, across the world, take that opportunity, try that. Hey, you don't get that promotion here? Well, I'm going to go get it over here. Always being receptive to change. And then you reach a certain, and I literally don't know if is this an age thing or what, but I'm starting to think more and more about retirement, and that risk is all of a sudden more. And it's like, okay, I know definitively, Joseph, that the grass isn't always greener over there. I wake up with a smile, as I mentioned. I'm surrounded by just wonderful people, and okay, maybe I could make more money over here. Whatever that, to turn that aspirational side off has been incredibly difficult. And so, like, I'm in this incredible community. I have everything that I ever asked for, but there's still a part of me that wants more, and that's a battle that I have, and I feel like I'm winning it right now. But it's a roller coaster. It's always up and down, and I do believe, I kind of see retirement in the next 5 years or so. Maybe 5 turns into 7 or what have you, and I think this is probably the last stop. I don't really care to go through that again and relocate the fam and do all that stuff. It's a big ask at this stage, and there's that risk and what have you.
Right.
So not to say change won't happen, but I'm not pursuing it like I did 10 years ago.
Yep. That's always the struggle between stability and innovation, right? And we experience that in ourselves almost. Hey, Shane, I know. I know we're out of time. Yeah, go.
Okay, yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, just because you reach a certain point in your career and you love your organization and you don't want to move on, doesn't mean you don't continue to drive innovation and all these cool projects. I got to brag about my community a little bit, man. The technology. Give me a minute. 23 awards for innovation over the past 7 years. I think we're at 14 employees of the month. We've done more magazines and interviews and all that stuff. All that's super cool. We just won 2 grants. I kid you not, Joseph, a year ago, we were in a magazine in Paris, France called Marianne. And you guys Google this. I promise you.
Okay.
It's true. City of Seguin, throw my name in there.
Okay.
And how a rural Texas city is leading in cybersecurity. How that happened, I still don't know. But hey, you want to do an interview? Yeah, I guess, dude. Let's do it, man. Being president of the state's local government IT organization, TAG ITM, like all these wonderful things, right? I have a Cohesity box. We're about to deploy Nutanix with Cohesity next week. How cool is that? That's a $600,000 project. We won 2 grants. We just went live with Palo Alto Cortex Pro. AI-based. It's kind of a little bit of a seam, kind of the EDR stuff. I'm not sure where it lies there, but so far we're loving it. So, like, just because you may be comfortable in your organization doesn't mean you don't continue to push that needle forward. And you can still do some really fantastic things, even if you are happy and comfortable and what have you, like I am. Yeah, don't rest on your laurels. Like, what made you successful in the first place, still do it. Pursue that dream, that goal. Make it happen, man.
I love it. What a wonderful closing message, right? And it sounds like all the publicity that you got there. And that's amazing. That tells me that many people should be able to do something similar, right? And be just
I'll tell you what.
as much out there. Mhm.
This is super cool. I love this story. About a
Okay.
year ago, I'll be quick. I'll try. I run my mouth a lot. I think you guys see this, but typical Texan, the stereotype, right, happening right here. But about a year ago, I was on the cover of State Tech magazine. Had the cowboy hat on, everything, man. We pulled out, we rolled up Texas big time, you know. And in that magazine, it was about cybersecurity, and I mentioned a company in that article
Okay.
that their executives in Boston just happened to see. And one of their executives reached out to me like, "Hey, Shane, man, appreciate you mentioning us in the article." I was like, "Dude, I'm a big fan, man. I love y'all's tech." And he's like, "Did you know that we have this new tool rolling out to monitor like block trackers and dynamic banners and things like that? Super cool." And I was like, "I did not know that." He's like, "Do you want it?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I want it." You know, so like, I'm not gonna take it for free, but I'll float a little money your way if you're just trying to, you know, try to have us beta it or whatever's happening here. And so we did. We got it set up in my environment. It's been running for about a year. So we received 1.2 million emails in our domain last year. Oh, about 7 million trackers blocked, and there's just all this APIs and data that I pulled out of it. But fast forward to last week, there was another article on that company and that technology based on how we're using this new AI-based cybersecurity tool. And because this all kind of happened the way it did, it led to more media attention for that company. And, you know, it always looks good here on the city as well. Like we're kind of leaders in the cybersecurity space, or I like to think that we are. So like that helps our general fund, that helps our taxpayers. We have access to some tools that we wouldn't normally be able to afford. This is a perfect example, just because we're friendly with media and it sort of worked out that way. That was never an intention early on, but, you know, being that typical stereotype Texan, just willing to talk to whoever, just half crazy. You know, it's just a kind of a cool little side benefit that we have here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Shane, thank you so much for sharing that story at the end, because it just all sounds so consistent. There is just so much you in all of that. That's amazing. And the thing that I will remember the longest probably is that you're the happiest CIO in the world. It just blew me away. I'm thinking of
I believe that's true.
how to decide a prize on that. That's awesome.
You know, I got to say this, Joseph. I mean, Seguin is my home, right? I wasn't born here. I'm from about 5-6 hours away, but I consider Seguin my home. We bought a home here in Seguin. I wanted to live in the community I serve. I have a 4-mile commute. Literally, if I catch all the red lights, I'm starting to complain. Like, why did it take more than 10 minutes? This is ridiculous. I go home for lunch every day, and I go, you know, have lunch with my wife, and I, you know, wrestle my dogs out in the yard and stuff, and just like, it is quite the life. And oh, by the way, still get to do amazing things with technology, with the best people possible. And like, that's why I consider myself the luckiest, the happiest CIO walking the face of the earth. I cannot believe how fortunate I am, man.
Awesome closing. Shane, thank you so much. And to everyone else there, thank you for joining us today. If you want to find out more about the Tech Executive Club, we are here to help tech executives become great leaders, and you find more about us on techexecutive.club. See you next time, and until then, keep the brain cells active.